Alright, this is Extra Factors 258, starring Wolfsbane and Briefly Strong Guy. Not Sunday, you dirty barnacles. This is a standalone issue, so immediately some praise is due for that. The cover is good too. The cover is by David Yardbird, and something I think is pretty impressive is barring issue 200, which they felt the need to get an overrated actor draw. David Yardbird, he did covers for this series for 70 plus issues. He did a lot of different styles too. Underappreciated effort. Is this a great cover? I don't know, but I tells ya, I was going to talk about this previously on page, and I didn't think I will. I love recap pages, but this is... too much of this is a template they copy and paste for every issue. Our story begins in a church. During Sunday service, a bunch of scumbags show up and start shooting everybody. It is America after all. They kill nearly everyone there, but when they are about to execute the Reverend, Wolfsbane crashes through the window to save the day, after most of the people have already died. I like Wolfsbane, and something dawned on me when I was reading this. I think I am generally predisposed to like characters that originate from somewhere near me. Wolfsbane is Scottish, and I am, like an hour's drive from the Scottish border. Some people have mistaken me for Scottish in the past. I'm not. I'm from Durham. Then I started thinking, there has never been a prominent or even secondary or supporting character at Marvel or DC who has been from the northeast of England. I reckon Johnny Constant was meant to be a Geordie. He was based on Sting, who is one of the worst Geordies around, and is much too hard to be doing a duet album with Shaggy. But after Adam Moore's, the character just became a generic London Cockney, because American comic book writers are incredibly racist when it comes to the United Kingdom. The other thing is, besides Neil Tennant from the Pet Shop Boys, who very briefly oversaw Marvel's UK comics in the 70s. Yeah, it sounds like a wacky urban legend, but it's somehow true. Other than Neil Tennant, who is from North Shields, I didn't think there has ever even been a Geordie working at the big two. Away Marvel, diversify with me writing Captain America forever. Wolfsbane, uncharacteristically, she is very vengeful, and she employs lethal force against these Elliot Roger wannabes. And that is their motivation, by the way. One of them thought that the reverend of this church was cooking them. The Reverend in question is a character we had seen earlier in this run. He is one of Multiplication Man's duplicates who went off and started his own life. There was a story arc where Multiplication Man decided not to reabsorb him into himself because he had a family and stuff. And I always thought it was a bit okay, which is about when I should alert the folks at home that I never liked this series much. The first few issues, great. The first, I don't know, 10 or 12 issues, great. Some individual story arcs after that are fun. I cannot read this as a run though, at all. It is so annoying and repetitive. Every character is sarcastic and it loses its edge and it becomes so one note. I have another major criticism which we will come to later in this issue. But what's happening is that Wolfsbane has left Extra Factors and she is at a loose end. She doesn't have anywhere to go and she is depressed and sad because, I said we would come to the other criticism, and we will, but not yet. She has been spending a lot of time in wolf form, and now she has come to Reverend Multiplication Man, because he is he is a friendly face, and she is religious. She has a deeply religious background. Summit they have written out of her character in the current books so that she can be a polysexual lesbian, when in the past she is one of the few characters you could point to and say would never ever be gay. She had a story arc about having to deal with her friend being gay and how it conflicted her because she was raised art school Bible thumper and thinks that homosexuality is a sin and that all gays burn in hell. This series fucking sucks though, because at a point David Peter ran out of ideas. He then started to make the characters do the most unflattering shit and have them become unrecognisable. Case in point, Strong Guy. Not Sunder, unfortunately. Strong Guy murdered Wolfsbane's son. Utter trash. And Wolfsbane herself, she had some similar tawdry shit. And you know what? I think if any writer ever truly nailed the exact mix of pathetic soap opera and irrelevant bullshit that littered the Christopher Clairvoyant Excellent Men's, it was David Peter in this. Wolfsbane had a magical wolf's child with a wolfman from fairyland. This is so Christopher Clairvoyant that it is truly awful. But it is the thing with Strong Guy, not Sunder, you jammy dodgers. It is the stuff with Strong Guy that bothers me. Even early on in this run, David Peter seemed to want to develop this character by making him terrible. One of the first stories has him murder an innocent person because it turns out Strong Guy is secretly a sleeper agent for the bad guy. Then after that, he lost his soul. He started walking around without a soul and being dark and shit. Then he murdered his friend's son in cold blood so that he could become the ruler of hell. Totally irredeemable. And it is a character who should only ever be fun. He was great in David Peter's run in the 90s. He is great at points in this run. But the overall direction for his character is horrendous. And many of the directions for this series' main characters are bad. And here is another comic book thing that makes me immediately depressed. Being reminded of this shit where Dan Slott killed off Peter Parker and put his self-insert into Peter Parker's body and his role as Spider-Man. And this came shortly after Avengers vs. Excellent Men. I think this was nailing the coffin shut for me. I do, however, like the ending of this. It is a sweet ending. Reverend Multiplication Man, realising Wolf's Girl is in desperate need of a friend and of support, he offers to take her in and let her join his church to become a deacon, since he just lost one in the shooting. Maybe it is a bit conceited of David Peter to feel he is actually retiring these characters forever. But yeah, I would accept this as the retirement of Wolf's Girl as a character. Concluding on this issue is going to be hard because the overall focus on Wolf's Girl's character and her story I liked. Good cover by David Yardbird, and I think more than anything else, I want to say that For Your Love by the Yardbirds is pretty good. I am not someone who blindly praises mediocre music because it's from the early 60s. I am not Quentin Tarantino after all. But For Your Love is a great song that doesn't get the same love that the Kinks or the Who's numbers from that year were getting. I didn't know much about the Yardbirds other than the guitarist from Led Zeppelin. He was a member for a while. And then Led Zeppelin, they were briefly called the New Yardbirds. And also the Yardbirds were in the film Blow Up, which is one of the worst films I have ever seen. Truly a total waste of time. 2 bonus reviews for you there. For Your Love by the Yardbirds and Blow Up. Of the 3 things I have reviewed, I think For Your Love is the best. It is better than this comic, but this comic is better than Blow Up. I will give For Your Love by the Yardbirds everything and more, and that's for sure. I would give it 7 thumbs up too.